That was crap. That was garbage. This place sucks.
Overreaction Monday.
All right, Christopher, what do we have over there?
All right, let's start in Chicago, guys. You know, the Bears turned to Foles too soon. Threw a late touchdown, but did not look good yesterday.
I'll say it's overreaction. He looked terrible, man.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought, I tweeted out during the game yesterday that this had a he's going to turn back to Trubisky vibe, but he can't do that just yet. Foles looked just old, and the offense looked stale, and they couldn't get anything going. And I think we might find out at some point that you tip the cap to the Colts defense and what they are becoming right now.
They look good.
They did look good, and I still don't know what to make of the Colts, but I might be something to talk about later on here. This is a Bears conversation. I'll just say for the moment, it is an overreaction.
Okay.
It did help them get the win in Atlanta. They are they do have the crooked number 3 in the win column because of it, as opposed to the crooked number 2. Let's see what happens on Thursday night short week with Tampa Bay. Talk about a great Week 5 kickoff coming up on the family of networks, Fox, NFL Network, and Amazon Prime. So we'll see. I'll just label that an overreaction for the moment.
Let's talk about
terrible. Let's awful.
Terrible. Let's talk about the Lions, guys. Did you see this stat? 6th straight game blowing a 10-plus point lead by the Lions. Matt Patricia, we asked Peter King about it. He's not going to last this season.
I still think that the Lions will come up with some W's, and in short order. Detroit has a bye week, so they come out. They are at Jacksonville. They're at Atlanta, and then Indianapolis is going to be a tough one. I don't think he's going to eat it during the season unless they go 0-8 and 0-9, 0-10. Really, and because I pointed out to Peter before, the reason why you fire a coach in the middle of a season is because your fan base is so angry and so upset that they're voting with their feet. And there are no feet coming into the stadium, and there are no fannies in the seats in most stadiums, and you're not hearing it in the stadium. You're not sitting in your owner's suite hearing it from the fans screaming at you as you're leaving or coming in. So, circumstances are bad. Plus, also, I don't think in the era of COVID you're going to want to change anything of your protocols. Nothing. And that also includes the coach, or it's going to have to be so dire to fire your coach in the middle of a season. So for that respect, I'll say overreaction.
Okay.
But, with him and Bill O'Brien, it's just the latest example of it's not Bill Belichick you're hiring. You're just hiring people who learn at his knee or in his system. And it doesn't appear to be translatable in the short term or even in the long term, respectively, for Detroit or potentially Houston. So I'll label that an overreaction for the moment. Chris.
Let's go to Cleveland, guys. The Browns have the number 1 rushing attack in the NFL.
Yes.
The Browns are making the playoffs.
You know what? With the 7th seed sitting out there and the Cleveland Browns having a schedule that doesn't appear to be all that difficult because they're playing the NFC East, which is there's some wins right there. And, they take on the Jets later on in the season with a running game like they're doing. And if the Odell Beckham is alive and the offensive line looks good, I'll say that's not an overreaction. And I know they lost Chubb, but the kid, the Ernest Johnson looked pretty damn good. I'll take him. I might be picking him up in fantasy this week.
So did Kareem Hunt. He looked awesome,
too.
I
with a 7 seed out there, I think Cleveland should make the playoffs. A 3-1 team has the opportunity to do it when you've got a defensive player of the year candidate and a running game and a stellar wide receiver set and a difference maker at that spot. Yeah. I'll say that's expected.
You're a little
coming
high,
up soon.
little high.
No. I'll go low register. I will say
Yeah.
that's a proper reaction to what I'm seeing. Yeah.
All right. We're talking a lot about, I'm sorry, TJ, but the Cowboys' defense is going to cost them a playoff spot.
Spot on. I said it before the season, and I've watched them just absolutely disappear in 3 straight games. 3 of them. See you later, man. And then you could even make the case that Jared Goff and the Rams chopped him up too. So they've yet to arrive in 2020. And this just in, there's a 5th game of their season coming up. So late window on Fox. Later, the whole country will sit in and see if Danny Dimes can get win number 1 and really stick it to Dallas.
That would be great.
Now, Dallas's defense is absolutely going to cost him a playoff spot. Yep.
All right, let's stay in the NFC East. Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles saved their season last night in San Francisco.
I'll go overreaction just because if they were 0-3-1, they'd still be a half game out of first place in the division. And as you know, whoever wins the division gets a home playoff spot.
But if they were 0-3-1 and Wentz kind of stunk it up, but getting a little louder for Hurts.
Had C.J. Beathard's Hail Mary or C.J. Beathard's I guess would you say constantly going over the middle with no timeouts left last night. Okay, that had his execution of the final drive been a little better, had his Hail Mary dropped into the arms of awaiting George Kittle on the ground as he was catching everything last night.
He was.
Then the Eagles would just be a half game out, and we would be like, man, Wentz did it. I mean, it's just not going right for him. So I won't say it saved their season, but I'll say it was a necessary performance that they'll use moving forward, and they put them in first place, and it takes the pressure off. But I won't say save their season.
All right, Buffalo looking great at 4-0. Josh Allen looks like an MVP. The Bills are the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC.
Well, I mean, I'm going to just touch upon it here because I have already, because I'm a lead pipe wielding professional, okay? Chris, I was sitting watching this game against the Raiders, and I picked the Raiders on NFL Game Day morning because I thought the Raiders team that showed up in that Monday night, week 2 against the Saints was going to show up yesterday. And on occasion they did until Darren Waller put the ball on the turf. Josh Norman made the big play to knock it out. And then the Bills did what all excellent teams do. They take the opportunity that their defense has created for the offense and stuck it right where the sun does not shine and turn it right into 6 points on the spot. That's what excellent teams do. And I made the note to make one of my 4 downs tomorrow preview that the Bills are the team with the best shot to beat the Chiefs in the AFC this year.
Okay.
And I will expound upon that Tuesday. But you're either I'm overreacting because you've placed this in front of me as an Overreaction Monday subject, or I think that is spot on. And I'll expound on it a little bit tomorrow. But you and I are on the same wavelength right there.
I like it. All right, last one, guys. The media kind of buried the Saints too soon.
Oh, yeah. I was one of the people saying don't bury the Saints in Drew Brees just yet, right? After they lost, after that aforementioned Monday night game in Las Vegas. As they fell down 14 points yesterday in Detroit. As they lost the previous week. I just don't do it. So they survived Michael Thomas's sit down by winning yesterday in Detroit and improving to 2-2, which is still only 1 game behind the team that they have a tiebreaker on in that division. And I would not sleep on the New Orleans Saints, who finish up Week 5 at home against the Los Angeles Chargers, the last time Drew Brees will face, unless it's in the Super Bowl, the team that drafted him and then chose Phillip Rivers over him and did him the favor of sending him to free agency and connect with Sean Payton for the rest of his career. I think he will have an interesting say with his arm and his mind and his play in that game. And then after the bye, home for Carolina at Chicago, the huge Sunday nighter against Tampa. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I said it at the time.
Yeah.
Do not bury the New Orleans Saints. At the very time.
Good Breeze stat on throws between 10 and 25 yards downfield.
Yes.
8 of 12 for 155 yards and a touchdown from Pro Football Focus.
So he was able to do it, target it, pull the trigger, and execute it. So he's not dead. Literally, yesterday's game against the Lions was the equivalent of him fogging up a mirror, is what you're saying. It's certainly in that department.
The Undertaker.
That's what I said at the time, and I fully believe it here, and it was wrong to bury him. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.